One.
And we're all people watching the other people watching we. And we're as lonely as we wanted to be. We're all as lonely as we wanted to be. Just as lonely as we wanted to be. I'm just you, you're just me. It's only true if we believe. Well, there really ain't no use in stopping what nobody never told me not to do. So I'll keep people watching me now, finding my way back to you. But we're as lonely as we wanted to be. We're all as lonely as we wanted to be. I'm just as lonely as I wanted to be. I'm just you, you're just me. It's only true if we believe. I see so many feet going so many ways. People passing by, they got nothing to say. And confused. But if nobody told me what to do, I can't stop breaking all the rules. Now
Yeah.
I'm just people watching other people watching me. We're all people watching other people watching we. And we're as lonely as we wanted to be. We're not so lonely as we wanted to be. I'm just as lonely as I wanted to be. Not so lonely, 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 lonely.
Today we have a professional rugby coach, John Mallet, to talk to us about fitness testing for sport and exercise in rugby. So, can you please tell us, what are the most important components of rugby?
Well, rugby is a multi-dimensional sport that team game that has a huge variety of fitness demands on the participants, and depending on the level it's played at, that affects which components are required. But in the main, you look at, certainly if you look at a school rugby team, elements of endurance, anaerobic and aerobic are important, and then the higher levels, power is a big part of the sport. Muscular strength because of the contact element, and then flexibility and speed you'd include, particularly in certain positions.
Okay, so you're saying there's a variety of different components?
Definitely a complete mix, really, and dependent on position and the individual, those would be placed in different order.
Could you roughly rank the components in order for a flanker?
For back row, endurance aspects are important. Anaerobic endurance, they work at very high intensity. They cover the most ground on the pitch for any player, and they are involved in more different aspects of the game than any other player on the pitch. So they probably typically would have the highest score, certainly on the endurance, and a correlation between speed, endurance and strength perhaps the largest scores of each type. Other positions would have higher on specific areas, but across the board it tends to be the back row that have the fittest overall profile.
Do you carry out any fitness testing for your athletes?
We use some fitness testing for strength and conditioning, sprint test, agility test, power test through jump mat, and some strength tests, chin up test, bench press, in order to monitor the training program.
Okay. And so I've done a few tests for rugby as well, and just wondering if you think these are relevant. So sit and reach for flexibility.
Yeah, sit and reach is a general indicator of flexibility. It's non-specific to rugby in terms of the actual movement, but as an indicator of flexibility, it's an important test for a rugby player. Their development of power and speed is affected by their flexibility, so important aspect. Yeah.
And standing stalk for balance.
Balance important, again a general indicator in terms of sporting fitness components and their development. So again, non-specific to rugby in terms of standing stalk, but balance certainly in some positions more than others is important in contact sport. We'll talk about players staying on their feet in contact and things like that.
For strength, I've done a hand grip dynamometer, 1 rep max bench press and 1 rep max squat. So I thought the rugby players will be using a lot of different parts of their body to test strength. Do you think these are relevant?
Yeah, I think it's good that you've got a range of tests there. So you look at different aspects, upper body, lower body, grip strength is also important again. So yeah, I think it's really good that you've chosen to look at that area specifically. It's an important part of rugby. And those movements, whilst non-specific to rugby, do give a general indicator of someone's strength and power, really, knows what that matters.
Okay. For agility, I've chosen to do Illinois agility test. Would you say this is relevant for rugby?
Yeah, again, agility, change direction, important aspect of development of a rugby player. And the Illinois does that well because it looks at flat speed as well as change of direction. Lots of data available with that test. It's widely used, so it's a good choice of test.
And for speed, I've done 30 metre sprint speed. Would you say this is relevant?
Yeah, certainly 30 metres is specific rugby-wise. Anything from between 5 metres to 40 players are covering at speed, and a 30 metre score will give you a good indicator of that player's speed. Plenty of data available for that test.
Yeah, and for the last one, I've chosen abdominal curl test for muscular endurance. Would you say?
Yeah, muscular endurance is important for all players, particularly the back row guys that you've looked at. It's non-specific, general indicator, but it would give you a good measure of a player's ability to deal with the endurance throughout the length of the game, rather than just the strength for a short period of time.
Okay, and that is it. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Feast.